When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your moves.
We have exciting news. You can now afford to have your own freeze dryer. That's right, for the first time ever, it's possible to have a freeze dryer in your home. It was invented right here in America by Harvest Right. With this new appliance, you can freeze dry your own food and it will last 25 years. Imagine freeze drying fruit, vegetables, meat, and your own homemade meals. It's as easy to use as a microwave. Learn more about this amazing home freeze dryer at harvestright.com. Again, that's harvestright.com.
You've just joined the Prepper Broadcasting Network, where we promote self-reliance and independence. The views and opinions expressed are strictly those of the host or their guests. Visit us in the interactive chat room at prepperbroadcasting.com.
Good evening. Happy Tuesday to everybody. We are live here at prepperbroadcasting.com on the 7 P's of Survival show. Tonight we're going to be talking all things trapping with Brian King. Before we get to that, I got to do the normal weekly tell you what else is going on kind of deal kind of thing. All right, so in the next couple of days, your show lineup is live shows. I Am Liberty tomorrow. Not sure exactly what the topic is. Thursday is Prepping for Tomorrow. That's the Bobby Eckhart show. He's doing The Course of an Empire. Are we on the brink of a societal collapse, and why? For anybody that is a history buff, I have a history major. Study the rise and fall of empires, and historically they've all gone on a very, very similar curve. I don't know if that's the route he's going with this show, but that is a really, really interesting topic to listen to, and I will definitely be in there to listen to Bobby tomorrow night, because it is a very decent concern for anybody that really follows history and the great empires of the history. Then Friday night's Prepping Academy, and the coming Monday, Highlander Beyond, and he's going to be talking the must-have prepper gadgets for Christmas. I will be off the air the following 2 Tuesdays. However, my good friend Karen will be here. She used to be a host here for a while, and anytime I'm off the air, generally she fills in for me. So she's going to be taking up the helm for the next 2 weeks while I'm out of town. And her first interview is going to be with Homestead Honey, talking about her new book. And the second interview is right in our wheelhouse, like we normally talk about. Larry Roberts from Alone, he was the runner-up this year, will be on the show and talking about his life post the Alone show and what his life's going to be, and his new involvement with the Pathfinder School. He's now an instructor with the Pathfinder School with Dave Canterbury, and kind of how he's taken life in a new route. So I encourage you all to come listen to Karen and the other live hosts every single night here, 9 p.m., Monday through Friday, and then on the weekends as well. Lineup is on the website, prepperbroadcasting.com. Just click on live shows. Of course, there's other shows that are scheduled all the time on there that aren't live, but you can come into chat, talk with the host anytime that we're having a live show. So if you're not listening to us anywhere else, come on over to prepperbroadcasting.com, get on the live show, and we can talk to you there. If you are having any kind of technical difficulties and having connection issues, you can always call in and listen to the show at 347-202-0228. Once again, it's 347-202-0228. When you call that number, you'll hear the show in your ear. If you happen to have any questions you'd like to ask, just press 1, and you can ask it live on the air with us. We encourage you to do that. We love to hear from people that have any kind of questions. All right, so nothing further to report. Let's get into tonight and what is trapping. Brian King, he's a trapper. He runs a small business that has a virtual profile out of Texas. And Brian, if you would, go ahead and introduce us a little bit. Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you trap for, a little bit about your business, and we'll go from there. Also, if you have the show on, could you mute it, because I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
Okay, yes. How you doing? My name is Brian King. I'm down here based out in Texas, and what I do is I trap for mostly small game right now until next year. And basically what I did was I woke up one day and I decided that this is what I needed to do. This is the type of life I needed to live. It's kind of hard living that life down here in Texas, but the deal is you find a will, there's a way. I trap for a lot of small game like rabbit, fox, coon, that type of stuff right now. Next year I'll be hunting a lot of, trapping a lot of big game, and I'll be putting a lot more products out. I have a small business called Trapper's Traditional Mountain Man Products, Norse and Native products. It's a little small shop I started, and what I did was I started brain tanning hides and everything, and I started learning how to do that. And I just started doing it, and then I started crafting products. I'm getting beeping over here. Something's going on.
Hey, we can still hear you. Okay. You were just cutting out a little bit.
Okay. And I started crafting my products, and I started a small business, and it doesn't take much. And I started to. I know I wanted to be closer to nature and into the woods and earth, and it's a good thing because you get to learn where your stuff comes from that you take into your body, where it goes back into, and everything in between. It's a real good deal about the lifestyle. I'll be moving to Alaska within 2 years and be taking upon the full lifestyle in remote interior Alaska in the southwest region on the Arctic Circle practically. So it's going to be a good deal. So yeah, it's a very big thing for me. It's my life. This is what I shoot for, and if I can pass it on and help others to learn it as well, that's what I want to do too.
Have you already purchased your land that you're planning to move to up there?
No, I'm looking into it, and me and my wife, we started a fund, and I thought about purchasing some land, but I held off because I want to see what else is going to become available, and I'm searching for a specific region in Alaska, southwest or remote interior off the Yukon. So I need to find a lot of acres if I'm going to have 2 successful trap lines, because that's what I want to try to run each trapping season.
Okay. My sister actually lived there for quite a while. She was down in Anchorage, so beautiful, beautiful country. Anybody can ever visit there, go do it. It's well worth your time. Spend as much time as you can in that great state. Just amazing, amazing country. Even in the cities, you have great outdoor views. It's really a great place to live if you want to spend all of your time in the outdoors. I highly recommend to anybody. And it's really not as cold as everybody says it is. It's not that bad. So
no, it's a lot of good dry air.
Exactly.
It's really good for the lungs.
And I was able to wear shorts and a T-shirt in February, so not a big deal.
Yep, see there? Yeah, it's not that bad. It's got good weather up there. It's got definitely a good environment for the outdoors, and you can definitely sustain yourself hunting and trapping and even make a profit, and I'm going to talk about that later on.
The last 2 years has been kind of a little skim up there because of the weather. Last year, not as much, but the 2 years before that, the winter was really, really mild, and it kind of affected the ability to trap up there because you can't run a line on snow machines and whatnot. You have to walk your trap line. So a lot of people had some problems the last 2 years before last. This last year was a really hard winter.
That's right, and there was a big fire too, one of the biggest in Alaska history. It wiped out a lot of the forests, so there was trapping is very scarce in the southwest remote interior region right now as well because of the fire. It wiped out a lot.
G-Man says it was pretty cold whenever he lived up in Alaska. It's actually been, I don't know if Al Gore is right and climate change is actually right or not, but it was actually colder not last winter, but the 2 winters before here in West Virginia than it was in Alaska because of that whole air pocket that came down from Canada where it pushed almost all the cold air down to us, and they had unseasonably warm winters the last couple winters in Alaska. So the entire time I lived in Anchorage, she didn't have as bad of a winter as we had here in West Virginia. Crazy.
Yeah, it's been very weird. The environment's been acting up on us the past couple of years, and it's been actually jeopardizing trapping, and it's been bad for trappers all over America and Canada. So it hasn't been very good the past couple of years, and I want to talk about that because the fur market is down. But there's also a way to even double to triple your prices in your furs, and I want to talk about that. It's very important times like this, and I want to talk about some of the best ways to actually do your furs and process them. If you want to get into that or whatever's clever.
Yeah, we'll talk about that clear at the end. We're going to start. We'll start at the very beginning, selecting your land and where to actually start setting your trap line up. Let's start there at the very beginning. So if somebody has a piece of land they want to trap on, or they have access to public lands, what are some things they need to look for if they're going to try to make that their trapping lands?
You need to look for first fur-bearing animals that are most abundant in that area, I would say. And first off, you need to know what you're looking for. And then you need to know where they're going to travel at, what kind of parts of that land they're going to be in. You want to look for scat. You want to look for tracks. You want to, even if there's no sun, you want to put a couple of snares out and come back. There might be something. You never know. I had to do that in the Cedar Forest Trail. We have a cedar forest down the street, and there was something out there. Of course, I use my lure, and it's extremely strong. Anything can smell it. I can't even open it in the house. So it's very potent. It'll just stink the house up. And it's, you got to look for scat and tracks and everything. You want to look for trees. Look for things that are rustled up on the trees. Beaver likes birch. They love birch. If you're trapping for beaver, you want to look for river birch that's been chewed on. You want to look for beaver dams and stuff like that, and you want to be able to see some signs. And if you see any scat, you want to try to get that scat, because that could be used as an attractant later on and as a lure. It helps a lot. It helps a lot. So yeah, you also want to check the weather and the time of year as well, because that has a lot to do with it. You may not have enough snow on the ground. You may have too much. It may be too cold. The season may have come too early. It may come too late. And you have to really put that into perspective and take that into consideration. And that's the main thing about all of that. Like down here in my area, I can't trap much unless I go up to deep East Texas. I'm down here by the bay and the Gulf, and we trap nothing but like rabbit, coon, fox, skunk, stuff like that for right now. But if I want to go and trap like the coyote and the bobcat and the hog, that's when I would usually get me some dogs out and go out and hunt, and then I'll go on me a little trapping trip out there in East Texas. There's always free trapping giveaways and free hunt giveaways. It lets you trap on the land and stuff, so you also need to be sure to look out for that. There's a lot of game here in Texas. You just got to know what you're looking for and how to. It's a very peculiar state. It's not easy to trap on. It's a very different landscape. it changes instantly by the region. And I grew up in East Texas in the piney wood forest in the woods, so I've always been a backwoods guy and a kid, and it's always been in my blood and a good deal.
Some of the things that I go.
Uh huh.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
oh no, I was checking to make sure I was still on.
Yep, you're still good. Some of the things that the people that taught me the basics of trapping were, number one, always set on sign. Number two, your first year, instead of actually setting a lot of major traps, use snares and things of that sort, some things that are easy to set, just to kind of get a guide for how things are going, and walk around the entire area you want to trap to look through that continued sign throughout the actual time period that you are going to be trapping. That gives you kind of a feel for, during the season, where the animals are moving. You can still do your regular sets and test them to see what works in your area, but don't invest a ton of time in sets as opposed to getting to know your area that first year. That'll really improve your results the next couple years. Don't ever set blind, always set on sign. And number two, take the time and invest and learn your entire area. Walk it different times of the day. Walk it the entire area. Don't just kind of assume that you're going to set it right on the trails. Use trail cameras if you can. And if you're trapping smaller game, set them down lower so you're not just getting the deer and the bear or whatever else you have in the area, hogs, etc. And know what you're looking for. Spend the time and learn what each animal is by their tracks. If you haven't done that, you're really wasting your time and your effort, because if you don't know the difference between a possum, a hog, and a bobcat or anything that's close, you don't know what you're setting for and what you're trying to attract. So it really will vary on the type of sets you're going to have. So if you don't know what you have in your area, then everything else that you do afterwards is 100% pointless for the most part, unless you get lucky. So information is king when trapping. So.
Yes, that's right. You want to make sure how far apart animals' paw prints are, where they step forward, behind, how far their paws are, et cetera, how they're going to move, because that's going to determine your set for that animal as well, and how you do that set. Remember, they're always going to step in the most comfortable spots, so you want to try to trick them up. Sometimes you have to set multiple snares in that area because they're so tricky. I know sometimes for fox, even wolf, from what I've seen on certain videos. Now, I haven't trapped a wolf, but I will in the next 2 years. I promise you, I'm going to get me a wolf. And they're tricky, and they'll get you. They'll trip up your lines. And the deal is, you want to make sure that your lines are secured strong enough, because if there's an animal in there, he's alive when you get to him. He's not happy. He's going to be mad. And if it's a vicious coyote or a bob, he's going to tear you to pieces if he gets out and if he's held by one toe and if you're holding him by luck. And the deal is if you're a beginner, like you said, you do want to start off with snares and small game. You don't want to invest a lot of money first. You want to get a little good. I also suggest that you watch a lot of YouTube videos, read a lot of books, take notes, then go out and do it. eBay is your friend when you're just starting out. It's your friend. It's one of your best friends. eBay is a must because it'll save you a lot of money. You can find a lot of good used ones, and I'll talk about that later on in marketing and all that when it comes to turning this whole deal into a big successful deal.
The other thing that I've had success with in getting traps at a really, really good price is the trade market. Get on some of these Facebook groups that I've talked about in the past that deal with outdoor trading items. I've found a good bit of traps that way. And also, after trapping season is over, hit up all of your different pawn shops close to you. If there's trapping in your area, and people sometimes will change out their traps and they get kind of cash poor at that time, go in and hit them up. And sometimes in the summer, just look anytime after trapping season is over throughout the spring and summer, and you will find traps for $1 that should normally be $10, $15, $20. I got some beaver traps for $1. That is insane comparatively.
Yeah, that's true. Especially here in Texas, a lot of people go out and they try to trap, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't know the landscape, and they hang up the traps and they want to sell them. And it happens a lot here in Texas because there's not a lot of trappers here in Texas. It's hard to trap here. It's not easy at all due to the climate and our landscape. And we get traps down here real cheap and all that, and it's just they come like no tomorrow once trapping season's over. I'm usually on Craigslist or something like that, and I'm ready to take names and call the numbers up and say, hey, I want your traps, I want this or that. It's always good to stock up. This will always help you in a survival situation, talking prepping as well. So learning this stuff is key. It's a lost art, and it's also a good spiritual one. And you put your heart and soul into this craft and this trade, and it's one of the few that's still around barely. And there's only a few traditional ones left that can still make a successful living off of this and know the good native values of this way of life. For some of us, it becomes a way of life, and we'll do anything at any cost to live it and to keep it that way. And that's a good deal. And some of us are diehard survivors mostly in this type of lifestyle, and it's a very hard lifestyle. It's not easy, especially doing what I'm going to be attempting to doing. I'm not going to attempt it. I am going to do it. I'm going out and I'm actually building my cabin from the ground, the dirt up, just like the old mountain man. I'm doing everything the traditional way, and I'll be making my living that way, a subsistence trapping mountain man way. And it's a very hard life, but it's a good spiritual one. It's one to learn and get in touch with the earth and the animals and the wildlife. It's something about it. It's something about it.
Okay, just to make a couple notes on public lands. If you were trapping on public lands, that getting to know your area information kind of deal is extremely important in that aspect because, number one, other people might trap there. In the areas around here, there aren't very many people that trap on public lands. However, I was down during that class with the Pathfinder School down around Charleston, West Virginia. I'm in northern West Virginia. That's in south central West Virginia. And the area we were doing the class in was just a kind of a game reserve kind of deal and kind of a little hunting area. It's only 100 acres, but there were 3 or 4 different trap lines on there on that little area. So make sure you know the area during the trapping season.
Yeah,
if you were wanting to hunt that area, you'd be good.
Yeah, you don't want to trample on somebody's trap line. That's not good, and it could be dire consequences even on public land. It's don't do it. Just make sure you know the area. Make sure you're a little ways away from that trap line. That way the animals have, good navigating area to navigate, get through, make their rounds. That way you can catch that fur. That fur's money and food and tools and clothing and warmth and everything. Lure making supplies. The list goes on. Jewelry. It's a lot. An animal is worth a lot, and so you got to make sure that, and people, I take that into account. If I found somebody treading on my trap line, public land or not, you want to also make sure you tag your traps, especially on public land. There's going to be a lot of warden out there. They're going to be looking. They want to give people citations and fines. That is what they're there for. They're checking. It's a very closely regulated deal, trapping-ish, because of propaganda selling and all sorts of other stuff. You have to have license for all that too. And so they're out checking for tags, brass tags, and right traps for that area. If they find a trap in that area and they see that you're trying to hunt trap the deer or snare deer, they're going to do something about it, and they're going to find you. They know what you're trying to do. That takes a hunter and trapper to know one. So remember that. They know exactly what you're up to because they know that's what they do. They do the same thing. They go out and they trap, they hunt, they snare, they do all of that. And they have to. That way they learn. So you also want to remember that. You have to be cautious. And I suggest if you're doing it on public land, make sure no one's else trapping on it. I suggest that you pay somebody and you trap on their land. And they're going to want those nuisances gone anyways. So you're going to get to keep the animal. You're paying a little small fee. It's going to pay for itself. You're going to process the fur, and you can also triple or double that. So it's a win-win situation, and that's the way I suggest to do it. And you get more out of it. Or you just get your own land and your own trap line. Me, I'm looking for no less than 20 acres up there in Alaska. No less for, and land. And the deal is when you're moving to trapper country and frontier country, it's not the expense, it's the know-how, how to live comfortably in that environment in those harsh conditions. Because it's untamed land. You just got to know how. And it's not the expenses. Everything's there. It's going to be provided, and you're going to be able to live off of it and make profit and live off of it. And so that's the deal about the mountain man deal. You just got to know how. You got to know how to live the trapper life.
All right. The thing we've been talking about with the knowing the signs and a couple of basic sets, I shared several images and guides on the 7P's blog Facebook page. So if you haven't been there, go take a look at the 7P's Facebook page. And it's also my private Facebook page. You can see, I think I shared like 20 or 30 different pictures that show the different strides of animals, their actual prints, some primitive traps and setups and whatnot that you can mess around with and take a look at, practice with. Maybe even this year, a lot of people that, if you're listening to this and you want to get into trapping, take those guides and get your SAS guide out, whatever you might think, and go out to the land where you want to trap and kind of test these things out. Make sure you have your license if it's private land or non-private land. Be compliant legally and try these things out. We're going to go ahead and take our first break, and we will be back here shortly and talk a little bit more about trapping and setting sets and whatnot throughout the show.
Prepper's Asylum is the premier preparedness outfitter. They carry in stock and ship direct the products you're looking for. MREs, freeze-dried food, Kelly kettles, water filtrates, first aid and trauma kits, stoves, personal protection, self-defense supplies, and more. Prepper's Asylum are people just like you and I. Find what you're looking for and use promo code PBN at checkout to receive 10% off. That's promo code PBN for 10% off at preppersasylum.com.
TheWonderMill.com, the best grain mills on the market, with the ability to mill several items that many grain mills will not. There are 2 grain mills to choose from. The Wonder Mill Electric. It's fast and gives you a vast variety of items it can grind. The Wonder Junior Hand Grain Mill can grind a wide variety of things that even some of the most expensive hand grain mills cannot, including oily grains, nuts, and seeds. Learn more about the most resourceful tool that you may ever own. See all the exciting things that Wonder Mill can do for you and what you eat at thewondermill.com.
Old Dr. Bones here, and I want to know that you're prepared to deal with injuries and illness in any disaster scenario. What would you do if modern medicine was no longer available? The second edition of the Survival Medicine Handbook is over 550 pages of how-to advice for the non-medical professional. Don't forget, Nurse Amy and I have a whole line of medical kits, suture stapling materials, instructional DVDs, and other items that'll help you keep it together even if things fall apart. Check us out at doomandbloom.net.
Will the government protect your family from Iran and North Korea's newest weapon, EMP? We buy guns to protect ourselves, home, health, and car insurance for accidents. Maybe you also have food storage. But how would you keep your refrigerator running in a long-term EMP blackout? Using tested military designs, the Solarc EMP-hardened solar generator protects and powers your critical appliances for years without burying items underground or wrapping them in aluminum foil. Unlike other preps, Solarc is used every day to help offset your electric bill automatically. Visit PortableSolarLLC.com to learn how easily expandable the system is. Solarc is the most affordable and powerful solution on the market. The whole system even fits in the back of a pickup or SUV and can install in less than an hour. See for yourself why Solarc beats other off-grid systems at PortableSolarLLC.com. Don't wait for the government. Go to PortableSolarLLC.com to learn why Solarc is energy insurance for your family.
All right, we are back on the 7-Piece Survival Radio Show. I am Josh, your host, and as always, we're on every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on pepperbroadcasting.com. If you're listening to us anywhere else, make sure you come back over to pepperbroadcasting.com. We are in chat. They're ready to talk if you'd like to. You can also call in at 347-202-0228. Once again, it's 347-202-0228. If you have a question, just press 1. Otherwise, you will hear the show in your ear if you prefer to listen to that medium. All right, we're talking with Brian King. We're talking trapping. We kind of talked some basic theory and whatnot in the very beginning. Let's kind of talk a little bit about the trapper's kit. What are some things that you would recommend, traps you'd recommend that are pretty good to have if you want to start out in trapping?
I would say some of your smaller traps and snares. Rabbit snares are real good. You're just now starting out. They sell them about a dozen, about a half dozen as well. And you want to start off with some small little, I would say some small coil springs. Little 1.5s are good. That's good enough. And you want to just practice setting them and learning different sets, different ways to set that trap and get the feel of it, know how. You want to learn how to match the scent. There's a whole 9 yards. You also want to get a little multi-purpose shovel. You want to get that. You want to go ahead and get some chains and some stakes, some lure, because you're just now starting out. You're going to want to buy some lure, know which lure for which animal. Anything. Just in all honesty, I've seen fish jerky catch pine marten. Okay, so whatever you got. Sometimes you're just that desperate. Dog food is a good coon lure, so you can experiment with dog priests too, which are good coon coyote traps, but you'll mainly want to go for a coon, which is good for dog food. They love dog food for some reason. So and
hot
that's
dogs
the deal.
work really well too.
Hot dogs too, Viennas.
And the rotten ones.
Yeah, and you want to get a pan, and it's a sifter. It's a sifted pan, and it has holes all through it. And basically, that's all it is, a little baking sheet with holes drilled. You can make one yourself, and you want some gloves. I see a lot of videos online, and because I watch this stuff regular basis as well, and they're not wearing gloves. There is scent on your hands. You want to also dye your traps. You want to wax them. You can use fast dye as well, or you can just spray paint them. Don't do your conibears. They're fast enough. Just need to dye them. That's about it. That's all you need to do. But you don't need to wax them. They're already fast enough. And if you're setting them, even with jaw openers, it could come back to haunt you because they're too fast after that, and it can mess up your trapping too. So you also got to remember that. And I usually go with Duke. If you're just starting off trapping, go with a Duke because they're cheap. You can buy them by the cases. They also got kits online that you can buy, starter kits, and fur handling kits too that are like 6-piece deluxe fur handling kits. I suggest starter kits as well. Those are real good. You can buy predator starter kits, beaver, some for bobcat and all that, and coyote and coon and mink and all that. And they've got certain categories that these certain starter kits come under. So, and that's what I suggest. Just buy it's about 100 and anywhere from 100 to 150, 175, these trapping kits. So they're pretty cheap, but they're worth it. And then go out and buy you a lot of traps, a lot of cheap small traps. That's what I suggest, because that's the cheapest way to go.
I'm really glad you brought that up. The Duke ones especially, those are pretty cheap, and they're really good traps actually. But if you just type in trapping kits, this is one of the times that I actually recommend going a kit way versus buying individual items and making sure you get the best of the best, and that's all you're going to get. These actual kits for trapping are actually really good. They have videos of how to use those traps and how to make sets in the kits. They have the scent and lure. They have basically everything you need in that kit to start trapping that specific type of animal. So if you get small game one, you have everything you need to trap, the rabbits, the coons, etc. If you get the larger ones for the bobcat and for the coyotes, you have everything you need to trap those things. So really take a hard look at those, just because of the instructional methods. Sure, you can learn a lot on YouTube, but you can also learn a lot of bad information on YouTube, and if you don't know enough, you might adapt the bad practices along with the good practices. So
yeah, you want to make sure when you're going on YouTube that you get a well-known channel. Like I go to the Pathfinder School, and they have a modern trapper series. I think it's Wilderness Outfitters, but it's sort of like the Pathfinder School or something. And they got this whole series. It's like 70 to 100 videos long, and it's a series, and it covers everything. It's Trappers College is what it is. And it's a video. On each video, it's Trappers College. It tells you exact detail on everything. And that's one of the free classes that that you can go on YouTube online and you can check out, and it's one of the best. And books is a must, and taking notes and key cliff notes and all of that. You got to make sure you do that, and then you can go out and you can talk to some people and see how they do their stuff, and then you go out and you do it and you put it in the hands-on practice, because that's the only way you're going to learn. And each region's different, so you got to make sure it could change just like that. Just the weather, so you got to make sure you're prepared to approach that region and that climate and know what you're doing. So very
Another
important.
place you can go is Trapping Time TV. My buddy Robbie Gilbert over in Pennsylvania, he runs that TV show. He also has a YouTube channel. He does a really good job with his videos and his production. Great stuff. Trapping Time TV is on Facebook, and he's also on YouTube. And his name's Robbie Gilbert. He's a really good resource. Unfortunately, for class-wise, the Pathfinder School just had that Trapping College or Modern Trappers course that they offer once a year at the Pathfinder School. So if you wanted to get into trapping, this past week was the time that they offered that class. So think about that next year. The beginning of November is when they do their course. There are a ton of online courses where you can also go to gain that knowledge. Trappered.com, TRAPPERED.com is one of the best places. Just look up online free trapping courses, and some of the states that require you to have an educational class, like Hunter's Education classes, Trapper's Education class, offer them online for free. And you can take those classes to kind of learn about the whole process, and it tells you how to make sets and how to avoid putting out scent and how to ethically kill game that are stuck in traps, etc. And they're very, very good resources. Highly recommend them. But one of them is Trapper.com.
Yeah, and Trapper Talk, there's a Trapper Talk forum online too, and a lot of trappers get on there from around America and even the world, I believe, and they talk about a lot of stuff in the market and what's good right now and what's not, and how the weather is, and you can learn a lot from them, because there's a lot of seasoned trappers, just like you said, on the Facebook groups, and You can learn a lot from them, just bugging in really and just listening. You don't have to comment, but if you got a question, ask, because closed mouth don't get fed, and that's just the way it goes. And if you're also new, I suggest that too, and you just want to take in as much as you can and learn as much and read as many books and videos and listen to others when it comes to this trade, because you just start off from scratch, and it's passed down from generations. Even before we had traps, steel traps, we had like snares, and then we had baskets, and they'd weave traps and everything else and put sticks together and make netting to catch birds, and there's even bird traps, which I'm going to be utilizing bird traps up there in Alaska, because come geese and grouse season, I'm going to need that meat in my freezer. So bird traps are a must. They're good. They're good, and they'll help you bring in some good money if you ain't going to get out there across them sloughs and hunt that geese. So that's
There's
also
a couple
something.
primitive bird traps that I shared on that Facebook page that I talked about earlier. If you want to start into that, they're really easy to make. If you remember Mike from Alone, who was on the show here a couple months ago, he built a Apo, whatever the Indian name is, bird trap. Basically, it's a spring snare that traps a bird live, so that it's not dead and you can have a little bit longer to actually go kill it. And basically, it gives you meat that you can go to whenever you want that won't spoil. Great trap to learn.
You want to utilize scat, because when you find scat, and I'm going to scat, and you got oils, or you got these meat lures, you want to utilize all of that. Furs, different sheds of fur and hides, that's also good. Even something as simple as the top of a mason jar cap, popping a hole in it, connecting some fish wire to it, and letting that shine. Curiosity kills that animal sometimes. Remember that.
If you would, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about lure while we're on that topic. Can you tell us a little bit about how you make lure, and what are some of the best things you put in it for different animals?
Lure. How I make the lure, I usually go online and I buy some of the only thing I buy online is I would buy online is seal oil and castor powder. Sometimes castors can get very expensive by the gram. If you're not a beaver trapper, that is the bread and butter in each animal. The brain and the gland, and the scent gland, that right there is very important for every trapper, those two things. And I'll tell you why. That scent gland can be made to use your own lure. You can determine the potency, what that lure is going to go for, and everything else. And I use beaver castor powder, seal oil, some beef blood, beef liver, onion, and raw garlic. And I let it ferment, and I use flour and cereal, wheat cereal, and I'll let it ferment for 6 months to a year, and I burp it, and I let it ferment, and then I let it age, and it becomes trapper's nice and stinky trapping lure. And that stuff right there is some very strong and potent lure. Oh, and I use fish oil and mackerel fish in it as well. So it's very strong. One of the things that you can use to make lure, especially for small game, is carrots. You can grind up carrots and use the oil from carrots and catch rabbits with that. You can use that as lure. So that's another thing to consider. And urine is also good to have because it helps cover the scent. Gloves that are sprayed with a universal trapping lure are good to have. That way that you can not get your scent on the trap, and it's just a universal attractant. So it's not really going to jeopardize it. And that's another way to cover your scent. And you just want to use those just for that. It's trapping, nothing else.
That's something you can save after each kill, too. especially with the deer. You can save those glands in the urine after each kill for not only attractants for deer when you're deer hunting, but also for your trap line as well.
That's right.
All right. Harvesting the animal, if you would go a little bit through, if you have a live animal still in the trap on killing it and releasing it, and kind of start in the process of how you actually start to process animals the native way.
Okay. If you have a live animal in the trap, you want to make sure it's a target animal in that season and everything in between that. You want to make sure that you're allowed to trap it. If it's still alive, it could kill you. It could rip you up. It could be an animal that's very small but can tear a grizzly to shreds. The way that to do it is you want to knock it out. You want to get a stick. You want to chop a good branch that's straight and long. You don't want to be close to this animal. You're going to want to knock him out. You're going to want to daze him. You're not going to always knock him out. You don't want to hit him so hard to where you're going to damage him, the fur, the external fur. You don't want to do that. Okay, and when he's knocked out, you can put a bullet in the back of his neck and dispatch of him. Other than that, sometimes you're going to have a snare, a poled snare, and it's what it is it's a snare around a pole, the end of a pole, and you want to dispatch them that way and hold them and get them and have somebody else, if you got an assistant, and take them out. You can do that. You can do that way. Dispatching a live one, you can use boards. Sometimes I suggest a board to put between you and that animal, and a pole snare. That way you can let him go, and he's not going to get at you if it's non-target. That way you don't want to kill him. You just want to let him go and let him go, because that's a hefty fine, and that's pretty much poaching, you know. But if you find one that's already dead, there's really nothing that you can do about it. It's dead. If you find one that's non-target, it's dead. There's nothing you can do about it. You know, I don't know. I would call the game warden. They'll come out and inspect it and do the whole deal and take it away, because you're not allowed to have it. They crack down on that a lot, especially here in Texas. They crack down on anything from trapping gator to any animal that there is. Squirrel, because squirrel's considered exotic game down here, even though we have a lot.
Something that Dave does for live release that he teaches is a kiddie pool, not the inflatable ones, but a regular plastic one. You can get them at Walmart if they still have them now, at the end of the summer, basically, for a very, very cheap rate. And basically you put that over top of the animal to the point where only the trap is showing, and release the trap that way. Animal's stuck underneath the pool, and basically you lift up the side away from you and keep your handgun in your hand in case you need to dispatch them anyway, and release it that way. It seems to work pretty well and is really cheap. They're like less than $5 to have that. So.
Yeah, and if you're trapping a vicious animal and he's still alive, like a big one, and I'm talking about anywhere from wolverine to bobcat to wolf, they're going to be vicious. Hog especially, they're full of testosterone. Take them out as fast as possible. You want a clean, good headshot. You just want to take them out. Because if they get out of that trap, they're taking you out. So you want to remember that. It's very dangerous when you're dealing with live predators or a lynx or something. It's very dangerous. A badger, those little things are vicious, but they tear you to pieces just like a wolverine will. So you got to remember that. Badgers are very underestimated creatures, and that's one of the deals. I want to talk about one thing because I forgot to bring it up, but the difference between certain weasels, Winuri, stoats, mink. People a lot are getting confused because they see a white one sometimes, and they think it's mink, but it's not. It's a stoat. It's a long-tailed weasel. and I want to. Well, it's a short-tailed black-tip weasel, usually. And I wanted to point that out. It's usually a stoat, and there's a lot of. It's real easy sometimes to get confused on certain animals on their coats, based on the environment and the season and everything in between that and their phases. I freaked out sometimes because of my cats. So one time, because I didn't know a dang thing about my cats, and it freaked me out. So they started losing their color very fast one time. One of them did, but he turned out to actually be dying. But sometimes they will go through a phase. Coats will. So yeah, you just want to. It's very important that you know the difference. It's easy.
If you would go through the process of the brain tanning, just real fast. We don't have a whole lot of time left. If you go through that, and then we'll go through some of your projects.
Okay, for brain tanning, the basics of it is for every animal there's a brain, and that brain is sufficient enough to tan that hide. Okay, you're going to want to take that hide off, and you're going to want to flesh it. Okay, you're going to want to get as much as you can off without digging into the membrane of the hair where the hair goes, because you don't want to lose no hair. And after you do that, you want to get that brain, and you're going to want to mush it up into a pot and heat it up to a simmer with some water. Okay, after that you want to take a brush or whatever, and you can work it into that hide real good. And while it's laced up on that stretcher, whatever you got it on, a wire stretcher or lace stretcher rack, you want to work it in real good. Sometimes with a paddle works. It all depends on what you use. And you want to work it in because that's going to preserve it, and that's going to turn it into this. It's going to help turn it into this good product. It's going to have good texture the more you work it, but you don't want to work it too much, and sometimes you got to watch for spots that are thin, because you just might get a thin spot when you're fleshing. Sometimes it may not be good part of the skin as well. You got to consider that. I take mine after that over a clothesline, and then I run it over a clothesline back and forth. And what that's going to do is it's going to flex it out. It's going to get it very flimsy, very soft. What I'm doing is I'm getting it ready for the smoking process after this. Okay? All right, after that, I take it and I usually lace it up into a sleeve onto another piece of leather, onto like a little bitty smoker. Usually you're going to have like a little bitty small structure or a teepee, and it's a smokehouse is basically what it is. You're going to have a vent at top, and you don't want the fire too much to where it's going to vent out too much and get too much oxygen and burn up your hide. Depending on which wood you use, depends on the tone and the color that you're going to get on the back side of that hide. So you also want to make sure that too. So you don't want to burn it up. You don't want to do it for too long. So you want to make sure that too, and that you have the right type of wood. Traditional is a birch or a good cottonwood dried out. That's traditional. So yeah, and once that's done, you can take it off. You can set it out, let it get some air. Then you want to take and you can want to condition it, and you want to put some oils into it, and let that go, and you want to sit there and then condition your fur and get anything out that you want to get out, and make sure your fur is all nice. And that's pretty much a final product of a good basic tanned hide. It's free. You're using the animal itself. It takes a while, but it's brain tanned. It's worth it. Some people use eggs too. Some people use salt with it. I don't. So yeah, there's a leather tanning that you can get. You can get brain matter powder. They got dried up brain that you can get as well online, that you can just buy and mix with water if you want to try it out, or if you want some on standby. So there's just there's a number of ways to tan, but brain tanning is the most traditional and native way and oldest way since the natives came over on the icebergs thousands of years ago. That's what they've used. I don't know how they figured it out, but it's genius. that animal provides it. It provides everything. So it's pretty cool. It's awesome to know where it all comes from, where it goes back into. So, and that's a good deal. And that's just the basis of tanning and of a hide. So, and depending, you want to make sure that your knife's not too sharp when you're skinning as well, because you can cut that hide. Some hides are thinner than others, and you can just mess it up. So you want to watch out.
That's where what's the name of the rock that you can use for skinning knife? Those are really great for that. Can you flake it? Oh dear. I can't remember the name of the rock. Flint knives are really good for skinning. That's what a lot of the old timers used to use for that process, just because of it's perfect for that. All right, if you would, the last couple of minutes, we got maybe 4 minutes left, talk about some of those projects that you use to utilize most of the animal.
Some of the products I use are making knives, beaver sheaths, leather sheaths, hats, mittens, moxicans. That's the main things. Medicine bags, possible bags, fire kit bags, pouches, things like that. That's jackets, pants. You can make a lot of different stuff. Hoops, beaver hoops. You can make that just a hoop out of just about any pelt, though. Dream catchers. You can use that to make a lot of different stuff, and it will also double to triple your profit as well. Antlers can be used for knives, beavers for sheaths, the tails, hoops, all of that, rabbit for mitts, also inlining for clothing that you're going to make out of your leather hides. Your raw hides, you can do some good leather jackets with that and line it up with fur. You can do headdresses. There's just countless possibilities with this stuff. Utilize the claws and the tooths for jewelry as well, and fasteners on pouches. It's just countless things that you can make with this stuff that can go into it. The lure making, tanning. Like I said, there's this meat. The meat you want to use that meat. That's good dinner meat. It's the healthiest that you can get on this planet. Is wild game meat. It's very lean. It's organic. It's the naturalest that you'll find. So you also want to remember that. And so yeah, there's countless possibilities with fur, and learning how to do wood and leather and fur work and all of that is very essential, and I suggest to get into it apart from trapping too, because it'll triple and double your business and your profit and your income, and you can start it right out of your household. So,
right,
and online sites are good. So remember that they're your best friends, and other small businesses, individuals, grab them by the hand. They will grab you by the hand. You help them, you promote them, they'll promote you. Creates business-to-business relationships to establish. So, and that's good, networking for your business.
All right, we are out of time for tonight. Brian, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it greatly. Remember, I Am Liberty tomorrow night at 9 p.m. 6 Pacific. We have live shows here every single night, prepperbroadcasting.com. Listen to anybody else, make sure you come here for all of your preparedness show needs. We will be back again next week with Karen taking over for me, and then she'll be here the next 2 weeks. So have a great night, everybody. We appreciate your time. Thank you again, Brian.
Hey, no problem.
Today's broadcast has come to you through the courtesy of the Prepper Broadcasting Network. See our hosts, show schedules, archived programs, and more at prepperbroadcasting.com. Thanks for listening.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be confusing. Like Swedish techno confusing.
Bark, bark, meow, meow. Dance with me, purple cow. Bark, bark, meow, meow. Ooh, you lovely cow.
Geico makes it easy. With 24/7 access, all you have to do is go to Geico.com and you could save money on car insurance. It just makes sense. Unlike,
Dance with me, purple cow. I like your move.